We got Gators Breakdown here. We know we're business.
Gators Breakdown, because there's never a dull moment in Gator Nation.
The Gators Breakdown podcast is ready to go. I am your host, David Waters. You can find me on social media at GatorDave_SEC, coming at you. Instant reaction after the 45-28 victory for the Florida Gators over Mississippi State. Man, that was fun. Good to see this team win. All the pressure, all the questions and comments and all that good stuff we know we've been talking about lately. It was good to see the team go to Starkville, get a road win under Billy Napier, of course. That's been pretty rare. And you really just put it together. With, as I said, all the noise surrounding the Gators. We get about a 3-hour window to cheer for those Gators and get a good result out of it. So also, I'm giving a shout out to you guys in the chat right quick, because every comment pretty much a Go Gators at this point. So credit to you guys too, because I could tell you wanted to see it. Nathan Pate, Go Gators. Scott 20, Go Gators. Travis, Go Gators. Chicken Titties again back in here, Go Gators. Just Talking BS says, just happy we won at this point. Exactly. Another Go Gators from Gator Van Kavan. Jordan Kelly with a Go Gators. And then we finally get a big Gator fan, Fire Billy. So I know it wasn't going to take long, but as I said, I'm giving a shout out to the early people in here because of all the Go Gators. Of course, Corey Green in here too as well with a Go Gator. So yeah, it was, like I said, fun for a 3-hour window. When look, I picked this team to lose. I was in improvement mode. As I said, that might have been the wrong way to look at it, because I did think Florida was better than Mississippi State, but I had to see it. And credit to the team for going out there and getting a victory. Mississippi State, yeah, probably not all that good. This Gator team ain't either. And still, double-digit win, point margin there for the Gators to get this. But I see your comments in here too, guys. We will get to it. Yeah, the defense, still some worries there. Good first half for the most part. And then second half, which Mississippi State, if you listen to my preview last week now, I did say Mississippi State much better in the second half, but still not what you want to see. Especially last week against A&M on the ground, today against Mississippi State on the ground, a team who couldn't run the ball at all, especially with what Florida's got coming up on the schedule. But let's enjoy it. Let's enjoy this. We'll go through the game. Like I said, instant reaction here. We'll go through the game a little bit. Some stats. Take a look at good day for the passing game overall for Graham Mertz and DJ Lagway. And Billy Napier said pregame that, hey, there was going to be a certain set rotation for the two quarterbacks. And, of course, last week it was every other drive. This week we get the DJ Lagway every third, sixth, ninth drive there. And I jokingly said, well, we even have 9 drives in the game. So, we'll see what that means in the future. But for now, enjoy this victory, 45-28. And, we'll come back around after the game, too. I still think it's fair to ask, is this Billy Napier's last game on the sideline for the Gators? I've go back and forth on that a little bit. Coming into this week, I would say, yeah, but also predicted a loss here in Starkville. We'll come back around to that. So if I forget, y'all remind me there at the end. But let's take a look at this game. Let's take a look at the game. I want to take a look at the game because we don't get a whole lot of victories to talk about lately. And we are certainly going to enjoy it right here on Gators Breakdown. I don't care what other podcasts do, or if they want to keep talking coaching search or whatever, go listen to them. A lot of good Gator podcasts out there, but not the way I'm going to do it right here on Gators Breakdown. We're going to talk about the game, still football season. Jordan, you say you got an interesting topic to cover in this week's Gators Breakdown Plus chat. Okay. Well, whenever I put it up there, we'll get to it. Or send me an email, gatorsbreakdown@gmail.com. Make sure I don't forget it or whatever. But plenty of – I'll come back around to the comments as well. But everybody, hit that like button. I know you like the result, 45-28 over Mississippi State. Like what we do here on Gators Breakdown. Like that result. Subscribe on your favorite podcast platform if you're checking out the replay, or if you're checking out the replay here on YouTube. But if you're checking us out live, if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting on? Hit that like button as well. And of course, hey, it was already brought up. Somebody said they want to talk about what happens in a certain topic on the Gators Breakdown Plus chat. Well, we'll have one. And if you want to take part in those chats, as I said, during the season, it is exclusive to Gators Breakdown Plus members. Even going back and listening to the replay of it, But if you want to take part in those chats, link is in the description to join Gators Breakdown Plus. Those extra episodes is chat, the Discord where you can text chat all back and forth all day during the games as well. Ad-free episodes of Gators Breakdown. There's a big plus there as well. Link is in the description to join Gators Breakdown Plus. All right, let's get to it. Yeah, I will say this because I know this was brought up a whole lot, especially when the injury report came up a bit too. Team hasn't given up. You can certainly say that. Now, I'm not going to say everybody. It's not 100%. Everybody likes to talk in black and white and 100% or 0%. For the most part, you don't go out and win 45-28 if the team is giving up. So we can move past that for the most part. You lose this game if you've given up. But Mississippi State got down big, got back within 7 at one point in this game. Florida stepped back on the gas pedal and pulled away. Now, this could have shown up at the start of the game as well for Florida, just not coming prepared at all for a noon sleeper type game at Mississippi State. Their crowd wasn't really all into it. Definitely not a sellout there. I saw plenty of empty seats in the top part of it. So it could have been a sleepy approach game, but it wasn't there for the Gators. A little bit of a slow start for both teams. Florida, of course, gets up pretty big going into halftime. But, Florida could have folded, but Mississippi State captured the momentum back. Momentum has been fickle here under Billy Napier's tenure there for the Gators, but able to capture it a couple times in this game. But Mississippi State captured the momentum. Florida could have given in, but they didn't. Part of this, too, I will say, Mississippi State, not that good of a team, but Florida did prove they aren't as bad. So, yes, going back to it, I did pick Florida to lose, but not because I thought they had given up, but I just thought because of maybe all the distractions getting to them and all the noise surrounding Billy Napier, their head coach's job status. And look, maybe Mississippi State really is that bad, but Florida did what they should have done. I'll go back to it. I said, quote, I think Florida should win, but they won't. Haven't been a great overall team on the road under Napier. Been even worse on the road than they have been at home. And look, that wasn't me covering both sides of the equation here. I wasn't trying to out myself, but I do think Florida is better, but they would find a way to lose. Glad they proved me wrong. I was certainly happy watching the game. Certainly glad the players have something to celebrate about. Third win on the road under Billy Napier in his third season here at Florida. So let's get to the game recap here. First play, loses 3. Mississippi State starts with the ball. Their first play loses 3 yards. Shamar James, who was everywhere on this first drive, he had a tackle for loss on a swing pass. No gain on the next play. 3rd and 13 on the first drive. Mississippi State coming into this game could not get anything going in the first half of games. That would continue here and continue on the first drive. Shamar James with another tackle on 3rd and 13 on a gain of 3. The defense gets a 3 and out to start. So another slow start for Mississippi State, just like the last couple of games against Arizona State and Toledo. Florida goes 3 and out on their first drive as well. Get to 3rd and 3. Quick pass to Livingston. Not Boardingham out there to start with. Nothing going for the Florida offense. That first drive, everything was played in the box. Everything kind of played in close to the line of scrimmage, and it was just like, oh, man, is this what we're going to get today? Turns out, wasn't going to be the case. As Bull Gator, I know he mentioned it in the Gators Breakdown Plus chat, and as I will mention it a lot of times, get past the first drive, and then you kind of get the story of a game. But thankfully, that wasn't going to continue for Florida, playing in that little phone booth. And not a lot of explosives. We'll get into that too, but certainly a lot better offensive performance than we thought we were going to get based on that first drive. Mississippi State comes back out. They had 1 first down for a familiar name, Creed Whittemore. Then they had 3rd and 4 out of 42, incomplete. Mississippi State punts again. So, Gators defense showing up early. Gators took over their own 16-yard line. They had a 3rd and 8. Now it's a check down, and Montreal gets 8 yards exactly. First down for the Gators. A 2nd and 6 with a 7-yard run to Webb. He gets the first. And then the Gators at the 37. And you started seeing Aiden Mizell out there. He got his first screen pass. It went for 9 yards. Or his first gain there for the screens. Then you had a 2nd and 1 where Mertz goes for 16 yards. Mertz with his feet early in the game, making a difference. Tell me if you had that on your bingo card. Also, so the Gators get near the Mississippi State 40, and on first down, Mississippi State's called for roughing the passer. So the Gators get some penalty help here as well. And then the Gators at the 24. Lagway comes in. He has a design run to the left. And of course, I told you to plan early, but it looks like Mertz had to go out for a play. Lagway comes in, runs. Eventually, that's a 3rd and 4 at the 17. No one open. Mertz scrambles again for the first down. So it's now 1st and goal at the 9 for the Gators. 2 Johnson runs, gets it down to the 3, and then 3rd and goal. Graham Mertz finds Arliss Boardingham for the touchdown wide open. So a good play design there for the Gators. Had that little rub route, and Arliss Boardingham wide open at the goal line. Gets it in there for the touchdown. Of course, that scoring drive took forever. 13 plays, 84 yards, 6 minutes and 17 seconds, and the Gators go up 7-0. So Mississippi State gets the ball back, of course. They start at their own 38 after a good kickoff return, so good field position for them. 3rd and 3 a couple plays later, and the run gets to the Florida 45 after a 10-yard gain. Mississippi State hits a 25-yard pass a couple plays later, already down to the 11. Mississippi State running downhill now, as that would be the theme of their offense for the day. We'll get into that, of course, piling up the rushing yards throughout the day. It did start pretty early. Mississippi State running downhill, now down to the 3-yard line. They have 3rd and 2 at the 4, and then 1st and goal eventually, and get a touchdown on that play. So just ran over Florida. Mississippi State had issues. We'll get into some stats that bear this out, but having issues running the ball all season long, you could tell they were probably going to get their way in the run game versus Florida. They tied the game at 7 right there. So Lagway in for his first full drive, starts at their own 25, overshoots his first pass, but offsides on Mississippi State. Had 1st and 5. He finds Marcus Burt for the first down to the 40. That's the end of the first quarter, tied at 7. Now Montrell Johnson has a big run, fumbles at midfield, recovered by Mississippi State. And it just pinged in my head because I remember bringing it up in the chat. You guys may have to remind me, is that Montrell's first fumble since his first carry against Utah in Napier's first game? Can't remember him fumbling beside that. I know that was his first fumble. I don't know if you remember. I don't remember him fumbling since then. Maybe he has. But either way, he doesn't turn the ball over a whole lot, so rare for Montrell Johnson to fumble. Mississippi State gets the ball. So, Florida with some early momentum, but not being able to do anything much to it. But the defense steps up here. Mississippi State had holding on their first down play, so they hurt themselves a lot with penalties throughout the day. That ends up getting to a 3rd and 17 at their own 41 for the Bulldogs. And Sharif Denson in coverage knocks it away. Great coverage there. Sharif Denson, you'll hear his name. An up and down day for him. Some really good plays, some really bad plays. But great coverage there. Fumble doesn't hurt Florida. Mississippi State goes 3 and out. So good response by the Gator defense. We haven't been able to say that too much. So Florida 1st and 10 at their own 35 now after a poor punt by Mississippi State. Mertz comes back in. 2nd and 7, check down to Jacoby Jackson. That gets a first down at the midfield. 2nd and 4 play action. Mertz finds Badger for the first down to the Mississippi State 32. Next play erases a 15-yard gain as Brendan Crenshaw-Dixon has a block in the back. Ball at their own 33 now for Florida. Mizell gets another screen, a first down to the 20. Very next play, Mertz finds Marcus Burt with separation in the end zone for the touchdown, 14-7 Gators. And at this point, I like to point out, good to see overcoming the penalty there in this drive. Good to see Mizell and Marcus Burt getting involved. 2 guys we've heard that we want to see get the ball, guys who could be options down the field, guys who can use their speed to their advantage. And we'll see later on for Mizell in a play that is erased. But you can tell with Trey Wilson being out. Let's not forget that now. Trey Wilson's out of this game. You're going to need some guys to step up. You're going to need Badger and DK, who we expect to step up at this point. But Mizell and Burke, is it, calling time for those guys? They stepped up today. Had some really nice plays. Good to see Marcus Burke with that separation, getting his touchdown. So wide receiver room, of course, that's where it's at. And it needs to be leaned into even more. I think we all agree there. So 14-7 Gators at that point. Mississippi State, they start at their own 19, get to 3rd and 5, quick drop back to pass. And Jason Marshall with a great play as he comes off a tight end, makes a play at the wide receiver, pass falls incomplete. And then DK with a great punt return for 35 yards near midfield. And what a nice surprise that has been this season. I remember tweeting out before the season, hey, guys, how would you feel? Because I was hearing DK was going to be part of the punt return or the return team just in general. And not many people were excited about that. Of course, we know Florida's got a lot of speed, but at punt return, this staff's going to put a lot of guys that they trust. And with DK's experience playing a whole lot of college football, and trust him there, but he's also become a weapon there. He's had a few good returns this year, does make some things happen there. So that's been another revelation as far as special teams go this year for Florida. Special teams have been much better. If you want to talk about it, don't get me wrong, because of the scenario we find ourselves in with this Florida team, I myself have overlooked special teams a bit just because it's just been ugly overall. But this is a great time to point it out. After a win here, the Chimere DK, 35 yards, gets Florida near midfield, already with a lead, and now the ball at midfield. So good special teams. Good special teams. 2 plays in, Mertz continues to play well. He finds Hansen down the middle of the field for a 35-yard touchdown. Mertz's 3rd touchdown pass of the day, 21-7 Gators. At this point, Florida has a 217 to 88-yard advantage. So as I said, the defense did get off to a good start. What you wanted to see, especially against an offense that has been known for the last 2 games to get off to a very slow start. You wanted to continue that. Another one, Jordan Kelly. I'm glad I looked at the chat here. Exactly. Rocco Underwood laying the boom on a punt return for Mississippi State too as well. So, it's certainly, I mean, if there's one consistent bright spot besides Jake Slaughter, I think for this team this year has been special teams. And we see it in many ways so far this year for the Gators. Continuing, change there to Joe Houston. Of course, and that has certainly paid dividends this far. So if you find yourself in some closer games, Miami was a blowout, Texas A&M a blowout. You find yourself in some closer games, maybe that makes a difference for this team down the road. All right, here we go. Florida with the lead, 21-7. Mississippi State gets the ball. 3rd and 3 at the 32. That's converted by Mississippi State with a gain of 9. But they had a false start on their next play, but a couple runs later get a first down. Mississippi State going tempo. You could tell they were trying to look for something deep. Florida was playing a lot of too high safeties. They weren't able to get explosives early on. They were still being able to run the ball. Don't get me wrong. I think that's part of it. Florida didn't want to give up explosives. So I think some. I'm not. Don't get me wrong. Florida got owned in the trenches again. Some of the success, I think, was Florida not wanting to give up explosives. But at the same time, you want your front 7 to play better, and they didn't. We'll get into the stats here in just a bit. Because right here, 18-yard run for Kevon Lee. That was down to the 26. And then Jack Pyburn had a tackle for loss of 4 on the very next play. And then kind of to continue the trend, they had holding on Mississippi State on a wide receiver screen. So then that was 2nd and 23 at the Florida 39. Then they had 3rd and 21 for Mississippi State. They passed it to the end zone. Should have been picked by Jordan Castell. So a punt for Mississippi State. So it was good to see Florida not give up easy plays to Mississippi State. Mississippi State was hurting themselves with penalties. That was that played a part too. It seemed like every time Mississippi State was getting a little something, they commit a penalty. So it took them out of running the ball in certain scenarios, but Florida wasn't giving up explosives in the passing game. The Bulldogs were overall at that point struggling on offense. So Florida, here we go. One theme today too, DJ Lagway on his drives, starting deep in his own territory and getting touchdowns out of it. So Florida starting at their own 10-yard line, DJ Lagway in that quarterback, like I said, and it's a 3rd down and 9. You had a designed quarterback blast to the right side for a first down. Then a Montreal run for 11. Montreal passed wide for 12 down to the Florida 44. Trayon Webb continuing his pretty good play. He went down to the Mississippi State 40 with an 11-yard gain. And then Lagway with a beautiful, just floats it down there to Elijah Badger down the left sideline for a gain of 26. That's a first down to the 13-yard line. And then great play design. Jacoby Jackson lines up out wide, He gets a sweep from out wide left, takes the handoff, run right. Great downfield blocking by, if I can remember right, Aiden Mizell, Chimere Dike, Hayden Hansen. Runs over a defender at the goal line. Another touchdown for Florida. 90-yard drive. Florida goes up 28-7. Minute 17 left in the first half. Good to see DJ Lagway coming in, and not easy being backed up on your own goal line. Gets a touchdown out of it anyway. That'd be the first of two. Mississippi State completes 2 passes all the way down to the 22, and this is what irked me. Giving up this touchdown right before halftime. This is when you were allowing Mississippi State to get back into it. It's 28-7. Mississippi State gets easy completions. 2 passes all the way down to the 22. And then a run down to the 5. They have first and goal with 49 seconds left. On third and goal, Blake Shapen runs in for the touchdown. 28-14 Gators at this point. And I hate it because, I pointed it out in the preview this week that Mississippi State's offense much better in the second half. The last couple of games against Toledo, Arizona State, especially Arizona State a couple of weeks ago. So you knew they might have some more success in the second half, and you give up this right before halftime. It wouldn't have hurt so much if Florida would have come out in the second half and scored right away. They didn't. Doesn't really matter if Florida wins the game, of course, but still, not what you wanted to see. So halftime stats, Florida dominating. 311 yards at halftime for Florida, 216 for Mississippi State. Florida with 196 passing yards, 101 for Mississippi State. Both teams had 115 yards rushing. Big difference. Florida, third down struggles all year long. They were 4 of 5 in the first half. 4 of 9 for Mississippi State. Yards per play, 8.2 for Florida at halftime, 5.4 for Mississippi State. At halftime, you had Graham Mertz, 15 of 16 for 147 yards and 3 touchdowns. He had 2 rushes, those 2 key rushes early on for 23 yards. Lagway was 4 of 4, 49 yards, 2 rushes for 16 yards. Who had that in their bingo cards too? Graham Mertz with more rushing yards than DJ Lagway at halftime. I forget the final stats. We'll see in just a second. So first drive after halftime for Gators, you get a 3rd and 3 early at their own 32. Mississippi State brings pressure. Mertz has to run backwards. He gets it off and finds Mizell. And for a gain of 1, initially Mizell took off, ran anyway. His knee was down, of course. 3 and out on the first drive after halftime. So bad drive by the defense to go into halftime. Bad drive by the offense to come out of halftime. I want to see that cleaned up. Mississippi State takes over at their own 24 after the Florida punt. 2 runs get them down to the 46. Another first down to the Florida 42. Mississippi State with tough running. You could tell that was just going to be the case for them throughout the day. 1st and 10, Caleb Banks had a tackle for loss for 6 yards. That turns into a 3rd and 10 back to the 42. He had a run. It was key for Mississippi State's offense, 3rd down runs. I mean, here it was 3rd and 10 at the 42. They got a run for 16 yards to the 37, another first down. Wide receiver screen gets blown up by Sharif Denson for a loss of 1. Then the very next play, Sharif Denson blitzes, gets a sacked fumble, recovered by the Bulldogs. Really 2 good plays back-to-back for Sharif Denson there. Very next play, 3rd and 16, back at the 34. Sharif Denson had missed a tackle. So he was involved in 3 straight plays, 2 really good plays. But the 3rd down and 16, not so good. Makes it 4th and 3 after that Denson missed tackle. Mississippi State gets enough. Defense can't get off the field. And this offense continues right here. 2nd and 6 at the 13. Shapen finds Jordan Mosley in the corner of the end zone over Devin Moore. Back to a 1-score game, 28-21 after being up 28-7 with the Gators. So then, very next drive, Florida's got to score here. Mississippi State's got all the momentum. Take over, Mertz is back in on 25, almost throws a pick on the first play. And then 2nd and 10 run by Johnson goes for 10. And then the very next play, this was crazy. I don't know how the refs missed this one, but they do. Aiden Mizell should have had a nice shake and bake 65-yard touchdown. Mertz finds Mizell. He makes a whole lot of moves, makes a whole bunch of defenders miss. 65 yards touchdowns, but it is inexplicably called back for a blindside block on Montreal Johnson where the defender's clearly looking at Montreal Johnson. He's running in the direction of Montreal Johnson. He even braces for the hit. And they call the penalty as a blindside block. So you screw Aiden Mizell out of his touchdown that should have been, and somehow call a penalty on Montrell Johnson. It was nowhere close to that. Play should have stood. At least if we get something out of it, we see Mizell's potential on a catch and run. I was glad to see that. It should have stood at the touchdown. But Florida rebounds anyway. Next play, pass interference on Florida tries to go deep here. Mertz severely underthrows Marcus Burke, but it turns into a pass interference. So the ball's at midfield now for a first down. Mississippi State called for offsides, and Mississippi State now hurting themselves again. 1st and 5 at the 45, and Mertz finds DK crossing the field down to the 17-yard line. Gets the 3rd down and 1 at the 8. Webb somehow doesn't go down, gets the ball all the way down to the 1. Next play, quarterback sneak for the touchdown for Graham Mertz. 4th touchdown he's accounted for so far. 3 passing, now 1 rushing. 35-21 Gators. 3:37 left in the 3rd quarter. Mississippi State takes over. 2 straight touchdown drives for them. So Florida's defense got to step up a little bit. Up again by 2 scores. First down throw goes for 15 down to the 40. Gets the 3rd and 8 a couple plays later. They keep it on the ground again. 18 yards. Like I said, 3rd down runs for Mississippi State. I mean, they really catching Florida, of course, expecting pass, playing pass. But Mississippi State still, it's 3rd and 8, and they get 18 yards. That goes down to the Florida 40. Then the next run goes for 13. Then you get pass interference on Sharif Denson on the next play. That gets it to a 4th and 3 at the 8. That was incomplete, but Sharif Denson called for pass interference again. To me, the second one was kind of weak, in my opinion. But then it eventually gets the 3rd and goal at the 1-yard line to start the 4th quarter. Gators get another stop. 4th and goal now. Mississippi State runs the option. Florida defends it well. Not sure if it was even going to be good if they got the pitch off. Don't think they would have scored, so Florida's defense stands tough. 4th and goal right there. Pretty much put the game away. Now, Lagway comes back out, as I said, backed up on his own goal line. This time he starts to drive on 6-yard line. Lagway finds Burke on a play-action boot for a first down to the 24. Ball gains 9 on the next play. Jaden Ball comes in with some nice runs. TJ Abrams gets into the mix. He gets a first down. Ball at the 36. Lagway finds Livingston for play-action for a 9-yard gain. 2nd and 1. Ball gains 32 as this huge hole opens up behind Waits and Brendan Crenshaw-Dixon. All the way down to the Mississippi State 23. Lagway gets to 3rd and 3 at the 6. Lagway and Ball have trouble at the handoff because of Mississippi State pressure. Lagway snatches it. Now he's got to get better at this. He's got to hang on to the ball. He fumbles at the goal line, but it is recovered by Austin Barber in the end zone. 42-21 Gators with 8:24 left in the game. Pretty much does it right there. Mississippi State will go on to score another touchdown. Blake Chapin's out at this point. Michael Van Buren comes in at quarterback. They string together some more runs. Jason Marshall has a penalty. But for the most part, that drive ended with a Johnny Daniels 10-yard touchdown run. Gators rush defense, huge issue. Of course, I said I wanted to wait till I got to some stats here. I put some stats here. Mississippi State guys, if you went back to the preview, averaged 98 yards on the ground coming in. After that 10-yard touchdown run, they had 240 yards on the ground. And that would end the day with 240 yards. So, 98 yards they average against, I don't care who they put, Eastern Kentucky, I think it was game 1, but still, Arizona State week 2, Toledo last week, they had not been able to run the ball on anybody. 240 yards on the ground. Now, granted, a Florida win. Yes, I know. But we know what's coming up on the schedule. We've seen the struggles with this defense so far. Cannot overlook giving up 240 yards on the ground to Mississippi State. That was 42-28 at that point. Florida would, of course, tackle on the field goal, 45-28 Gators. Trace Mack kicked that 47-yard field goal to make it 45-28. So, all right, there we go. There's your game summary there. Let's take a look at some stats. 45-28 Gators. 503 total yards for the Gators, 480 for Mississippi State. 480 yards and 28 points. They got stopped at the goal line that one time as well, so that certainly plays a lot into it. So we go to rushing yards here, 226 net for the Gators, 240, as I said, for Mississippi State. They have 56 rushing attempts. So they have 4.3 yards a rush. Florida has 6.3 yards a rush with 36 rushing attempts. 2 rushing touchdowns for the Gators, 3 for Mississippi State. Yards gained on the ground, 230, 271 for Mississippi State. But taking into a sack, account sacks, tackles for loss, all that stuff, they end with 240. As I said, they lost 31 yards, did Mississippi State in rushing. Net passing, 277 for the Gators, 240 for Mississippi State. Gators as a team, of course, with Mertz and Lagway, go 26 of 28 for 277. Completion percentage, 93% for the Gators. That's probably got to be a record of some sort for Florida. So we'll see when Florida sends the stats out. I'm sure if it is, they'll let us know, and I'll have to come check my email in just a second because they usually send the stats out at some point. I don't have it yet, but I'm pretty sure that's will at least be close to a record for Florida in the completion percentage department. 59% completion percentage for Mississippi State. Florida, 10.7 yards per completion. Like I said, nothing really explosive, nothing much downfield. We'll get into just a second. 12 for Mississippi State. Gators with 13 rushing first downs, 12 passing first downs. Florida ran 64 total plays to 90 for Mississippi State. Yards per play, Florida with 7.9, 5.3 for the Bulldogs. Let's see. Red zone attempt. And this is where Florida excelled, guys. 5 of 5 in the red zone. Certainly would love to take that week in and week out. And then on defense, of course, for Florida, 110 tackles, 34 solo tackles, 7 tackles for loss, 30 tackles for loss for the Gators in yards, 6 pass breakups, 4 quarterback hurries, 3 sacks for the Gators, 15 yards lost for Mississippi State in those sacks. Mississippi State, no sacks, guys. We got to give credit where credit is due. Yes, Mississippi State not that good. Florida's offensive line is also not that great overall. But no sacks given up. Some of that was the quarterbacks getting away from pressure, taking off and running. But still, they've had that ability every week. And we've seen how this offensive line has played. And if I'm going to call them out when they do bad, I'm going to call them out when they do something good here. No sacks given up for this Gators offensive line today. Kudos to those guys. Now, we'll see. We'll go watch replay and all that stuff. Of course, this is an instant reaction. I'm sure we can point some things out. But, man, I certainly enjoy and love seeing no sacks given up. 2 forced fumbles for both squads here. Okay, let's see. Let's take a look at some specific stats for the Gators. Graham Mertz, 19 of 21, 201 yards, 3 touchdowns. DJ Lagway, 7 of 7. Perfect day for him, 76 yards. Aiden Mizell, guys, there you go. Of course, should have had that, off the top of my head, what was it, 65 yards? Should have had that 65-yard shake and bait run. He did have a day of 5 catches, 36 yards, longest being 15 there. Marcus Burt, man, so glad to see it. 4 catches, 45 yards, 1 touchdown. Elijah Badger, 3 for 45, a long of 27. Chimere Dike, 3 catches for 43, a long of 28. And that was the highlights there in the receiving category. Montrell Johnson with 3, Tony Livingston with 3 as well. Florida rushing the ball. Montrell Johnson, 15 carries, 68 yards, 4.5-yard average. Jaden Ball, 4 attempts, 53 yards, 13.3 yards a carry for Jaden Ball. A lot of those things that we saw in the spring game, things we've wanted to see from Jaden Ball, gets his chance today, and we see it. Trayon Webb continues his pretty good last couple of weeks. 8 carries, 41 yards, 5 yards a carry. Look at that. Graham Mertz, as I said, 3 for 24, had 8 yards. So he did have more DJ Lagway. So did you have that on your bingo card this week, guys? Graham Mertz for more rushing yards than DJ Lagway. Of course, we're having fun with that one. On defense, Triquez Bridges leads the way. 10 total tackles for him, 5 of them being solo. Cam Jackson with 8 tackles, and I say that's a good sign. Now, certainly could watch on replay there, but anytime a defensive tackle, look, he's not running down the field and getting tackles. You assume, like I said, got to see when you watch replay or whatever, but assume those are happening somewhat close to the line of scrimmage for Cam Jackson. 8 tackles for him today. No tackles for loss. As I said, got to look at it, but certainly, like his name's not up there a whole lot. That's not necessarily his job to go out there and get a high number of tackles, but good to see when he does. Sharif Denson, 7 tackles, 2.5 for loss. As I say, he's probably the player that had the most up and down day. Certainly involved in a lot of plays, as you see here. 7 total tackles, 5 of them being solo, 2.5 for loss, a pass breakup. Had those 2 great back-to-back plays that we detailed earlier in this game. So certainly an up and down day there for him. Grayson Howard, 7 tackles as well, getting his face in the action. 7 tackles for him. Sharif Denson, Grayson Howard, both 904 Jacksonville guys, so certainly love seeing their names up there. Kelby Collins, certainly the most playing time we have seen him get. His name has been asked about a whole lot. His defense rotates, but his name not being one of the ones that have rotated in a whole lot, gets some playing time here and 7 tackles. TJ Searcy, I thought, had his best game as a Gator. I really disappointed so far this year in what we've seen from the edge players, especially in the games that have really mattered. But him, Jack Pyburn as well, 13 total tackles between the two. Thought they played one of their better games. Shamar James, as I said, started out really good. That first drive, he completely owned Mississippi State. He had 5 tackles. DJ Douglas, Bryce Thornton, George Gumbs, all with 5. Jordan Castell. Man, there's one play I know it got shared. It was a big run for Mississippi State. It looked like he kind of shied away from contact, made it a bigger gain than it really should have been. So certainly don't like to see that from the safety play there for the Gators. Certainly hasn't taken those steps that I thought he would take this year. Tyreek sat with 4, Jason Marshall with 3. Whole lot more players there getting involved as well. As I said, 110 total tackles for Florida. So certainly a lot of plays for that defense. A lot of them not getting on the field, giving up those third downs rushes. Let me see if I can find. Is there third down rushes? Mississippi State, yeah. They had 10 third down rushes for 63 yards. And on third down, they got a first down by a rush 7 times. They averaged 6.3 yards a rush on third down. Florida averaged 8.3 yards on third down. But yeah, that was the killer for Florida. On third down, giving up those big rushes for Mississippi State. Take a look at the passing for the Gators here. 19 to 21, as I said, for Graham Mertz. 9 of those passes were at or behind the line of scrimmage. He was 4 of 4 on screen left, 5 of 5 on screen right. He was 3 of 4 on passes 15-plus yards for 83 yards. Those 9 of 9 on screen passes went for 61 yards. Short passes, 1 for 5 yards, went for 35 yards. Mid-range passing, 5 to 14 yards. He got 43 yards in that scenario there. So 90% for Graham Mertz today. DJ Lagway, 7 to 7, of course, 100%. He had 3 screens to the right. And on deep passing, he was 1 of 1 left and 1 of 1 on the right. So there's your look at your quarterbacks, kind of how it broke down where they were throwing the ball. And one more last thing here on the stats, guys, what I wanted to look at is to look at the drives, and it's kind of for the both teams, if I can find where I was going with that. So how Mississippi State started off. As I said, the defense had a better start to the day, just could not keep up. And it really was a tale of 2 halves. And as I said, that's kind of been Mississippi State's MO this year, especially in those last couple of Power 4, Power 5 games that they played. But it was, their first half drives were punt, touchdown, punt, and then a touchdown right before halftime. So 14 points, of course, but it was 3 plays, 0 yards, 5 plays, 18 yards. In their first touchdown drive, 9 plays, 62 yards, and then 3 plays minus 7. 3 plays. I mean, it was 3 and outs in the first few drives for them. And then 11 play, 33-yard drive where they punted, and then right before halftime, 6 for 75. But then you get to the second half. 13 plays, 76 yards. That was a touchdown. And then 12 plays for 68 yards. That was the turnover on downs on the goal line. And then another 12 plays, 75-yard drive. And then a 13 plays, 74-yard drive. The defense could not get off the field in the second half. It just really was a tale of two halves for the Mississippi State offense, for the Gator defense. That was certainly something I wanted to look at, and just how stark and how different it was. I said it was a good start for the defense. I mean, like I said, there's 3 and outs. This defense not being able to get off the field against Miami, against Texas A&M, go on the road here, started off well. One of those with that fumble by Mississippi State as well. Okay, there we go. So there's your stats. Let's get back to some comments. This is a good one to start off with. There's the latest one in here. The Modus set here says, okay, so is this weird quarterback rotation actually working? I definitely like of course, I mean, Mississippi State, so take that into account, but certainly looks better today than it did last week. I do think the every other drive, like I said, when I asked Will about it going into the Texas A&M game, I was joking because I didn't think it was all that sensible to rotate drive in, drive out. Seemed like there was a little more structure in this. Billy Napier did say part of that was Graham Mertz being healthier and more ready to go, so he's handling more, but it certainly looks like it allowed Graham Mertz to get into a better groove. Certainly, as I said, you didn't see much down the field from him this game either, kind of continuing the trend for him. But I mean, only 2 incompletions all day, and certainly took advantage of a Mississippi State defense. They did what they should have done. You get credit for that. Now let's see it continue, but you're going to get credit for doing what you're supposed to do in that situation. So, I mean, it worked better today, yes. Let's see what happens when the competition ramps up. Liquid Flames, yeah, I know a lot of people look at it this way. I'm just so uninterested. I'm happy for the win, but I know it just doesn't mean much in the long run. I certainly get that feeling. I know a lot of Gator Nation is going to feel that way. I don't want to tell anybody how to feel. And look, don't get me wrong. I know we're down right now. Certainly, overall, down right now. I will choose to enjoy today. Kings of Co says quarterback rotation is working well. It has both quarterbacks playing at a higher level in a competitive sense. Also, adding the vertical passing game is a bonus to the offense. Yeah, you can definitely see it's still more there for Lagway. Kind of going to this next point too. Woody Michael says at this point they should start DJ Lagway full time. Mertz cannot throw down the field. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Mertz is, I think he played better than Lagway last week. Now, it just depends on how you want to look at it. If you still say you're building for something, I mean, this staff's not going to be here next year. So I think they're going to still try and win the games. If they knew for sure they'd be here next year, I could see them turning the page to Lagway, taking the lumps and building for next year. That's not where this staff is right now. They're fighting tooth and nail to save their jobs. They're not going to turn the page to Lagway to have him take the lumps and learn along the way. And you owe it to the other guys on the team too to win some ball games. And Mertz has played pretty well the last couple of weeks. Dave, we are in improvement mode, says Chicken Tendies. I'll take the W, but the whole of Gator Nation is in improvement mode. Absolutely. We should be, guys. This doesn't erase much at all today's result. It doesn't. But we can live in this world for today. We have plenty of time. There's a bye week coming up as well. We all know the conversations. We all know that. Okay, let's go back to some other ones. Everybody, thanks for hopping in. I know it's a college football Saturday. I wanted to get this one in. If you're watching live, thank you much. I wanted to get this in before all the night games. So I want to enjoy some more football later today. So an instant reaction show was going to be done anyway. But certainly I want to enjoy some other good football too. All right. Let's see. Jordan Kelly. Well, you know what? I'm not sure if I can get maybe this was Dave. This drive stood out to me more than anything. It's just me. But why did we start that drive with second team and halfway through when DJ Lagway was doing well? Put the first team players back out. Yeah, not after reading that. I'm not sure exactly what drive that was. Chickatindi says, it's evident to me in the last couple of games that Webb needs more touches. I think so too. I like what Traylon Webb showed. He was in improvement mode. You know, he kind of had been overlooked coming into the season. Montrell Johnson leading the way, of course. Trevor Etienne transfers. Excited about the freshman running back. Started hearing a whole lot more about Jacoby Jackson as well. Traylon Webb was getting overlooked. He definitely was. And I think what we saw even last week in a loss versus A&M and what we saw today, he deserves carries. He's got a tough running style. He's very hard to bring down. Great balance that I think we've seen the last couple of weeks as well. He just keeps on chugging along. So I certainly want to see him for Florida right now. I think they got a nice rotation of backs. I think we know by now they're not really going to let anybody get in the groove. They're still splitting carries pretty healthy between all the options here. Guys are definitely fresh. If you can keep games close, it's going to be an advantage for Florida. Just the problem is against Miami and Texas A&M, it's kind of just taking you out of that play style. And we all know Billy Napier wants to run the ball. And I've even said lean into the wide receivers more. Well, you may have to lean into the wide receivers more to keep the game close. But if you can keep the game close, you can rotate those backs and get in late game situations. It may pay off. I think it may be a pass to stay in the game, win, or run to win the game. I think that might be the path forward, especially with opposing offenses that are going to keep scoring against Florida's defense. So that might be the pathway. Lean into the passing game, win with the run game. And I think between these backs and what they have there, if you can keep the game close, you can just keep punching with a fury of running backs. Wisdom Martin says, not impressed with Montrell so far this year at all. Yeah, I mean, we can certainly say he's not any better than the other backs right now. I think the other backs show a lot that they deserve more carries. They absolutely do. Yeah, Kevin Reed, we don't see a whole lot of this. It may have been you that messaged. I remember you messaged me on Twitter about it, or somebody did. But I think it was you. You talked about 20 personnel and putting two backs in the offense. And some said it's not anything Napier really does. Now, of course, we always talked about adaptability, being unpredictable. That would be something I think that would show adaptability. But yeah, we just haven't seen it a lot, and we just talk about how deep that group is. So maybe come up with some things. But I did like the play design of the Jacoby Jackson sweep for the touchdown. He was lined out wide left, and comes in motion, takes the handoff, and like I said, very nice blocking. And that's the thing that shows me this team's still going out there willing, ready to play. I mean, you got receivers and tight ends doing their jobs down the field, blocking for a running back and getting the touchdown. Everything Gators with Ryan says, go Gators, fire Billy, but feels like weight lifted just getting the dub. Yeah, certainly. It certainly does. I guess that will go to the next point that I didn't want to forget about. Then I'll come back around to some comments before I sign off here. I mean, I was asked in the Gators Breakdown Plus chat right before I started this, do you still move on from Billy Napier after a 45-28 win versus Mississippi State? Well, if you already had the decision, I don't know. I don't know what the inside decision is. Now, I think we all know it's probably inevitable that Billy Napier is let go at some point. And a timeline has been discussed about. And part of that timeline has been coming up the upcoming bye week. You got Mississippi State, bye week, Central Florida. Do you make the move if you're going to make the move during the bye week? Get your ducks in a row, get your ducks in order during the bye week before Central Florida comes to town. That makes a whole lot of sense. I still think it would need to be, if you had decided before this, you don't make this change your mind. If the administration, or whoever's going to make the decision to move on from Billy Napier, if you had already decided this, you don't let 45-28 over Mississippi State change your mind. Now, if it was still split and they still wanted to see how the team would respond to all this, okay, then you just keep it going with him. If you hadn't made the decision, I have no problem keeping it going. A lot of talk has been who's going to be the interim. There's not a great interim option. I think it gets overblown. I don't really care. Once you fire the head coach, the season is lost anyway. But if you got the true belief that there's nobody that can take over and you hadn't made a decision to move on from Billy Napier right now, well, you don't do it right now. But if you would have already made the decision, you don't let 45-28 sway you. You go ahead and make the move. That's my thought. That's the way I see it. Because you got another bye week coming up in a few weeks anyway. So if you lose to UCF, you go to Knoxville, get your brains beat in like most of us think is going to happen. You got Kentucky as well. Then a bye week in Georgia. Maybe you make it during the next bye week. So there's a couple of ways with having 2 bye weeks on the schedule kind of changes it a bit. Chicken Teddy says it doesn't change their minds about moving on, but I think it guarantees his job is safe until after the UCF game 100%. But that's kind of my thought too. If you're making the UCF game, is that what it's going to be, really? Like, okay, Billy Napier is safe to the next loss. Is that to me, that means you've already made your decision. I don't know if waiting for the next loss is really the best way to go. I know it was part of the conversation on the Gators Breakdown Plus Discord was, what does it tell the locker room if you fire the coach after a win? Ask Texas A&M. They blew out Mississippi State a year ago and fired Jimbo Fisher right after that. I think it was a 51-10 or 51-17 victory for A&M or whatever, and they fired Jimbo anyway. So it's not unprecedented to fire a coach, especially with Florida's timeline of a bye week, to make a move. Rod Smith says Ron Roberts is worse. At least Armstrong was aggressive. I assume I probably missed some defensive talk there, but yeah, this defense is not aggressive whatsoever. Lee Fauci says Dave, tell him to fire Roberts. Thanks. Yeah, not great on many fronts there. Kevin Reed, bring it up, as I said, one positive note on defense, they stopped blitzing. I did see it as the game went on in the second half. I did still see a stupid safety blitz. Still saw some blitzes that didn't get there. But yeah, for the most part, I at least thought in the first half when we saw a lot of success, too high, not giving up explosives, make Mississippi State earn it. I think it frustrated them. Because they probably came into this game looking at this Florida defense saying, hey, yeah, we have struggled in the first half of games, but this is the defense we can take advantage of. This is a defense that's going to give us some explosive plays. And early on, Florida didn't, at least in the passing game. They had their big rushing plays, but they didn't really hit the big passes until that drive right before halftime. Liquid Flame says, have you heard from Will? They ran the pistol again on the first play. Is Will okay? I know he had, I believe, a doubleheader today for his son's baseball team. So I don't think he was going to be able to watch the game live. I refrained from messaging him so he can watch the game with spoiler free. I don't know how much he's keeping up with it. But yeah, I'll see. I'll see if he messages me about that. I am getting some text messages. Let me see if he hasn't. Okay, no. But my Auburn friend did say, because I don't even know what the score is, so somebody update me, but my Auburn friend just texted me, Jesus Christ, Auburn. I'm assuming that means Arkansas is putting it on them right now. So, or they're doing well. I don't know. I guess I could pull up a scoreboard too, but who's going to get to me first? Can you put it in the chat first, or can I find it on ESPN first? beauty of live production here as I want to keep up with other football games. It's a race. It's a race. Oh, that is not what I wanted to see. 7-0 Arkansas. Okay. Auburn fumbling in the end zone. There we go. So that's probably what it was. Yeah, well, 32. That's going to be that is scary. After what Texas A&M did to Florida last week, after what Mississippi State was able to do. Well, 32 says, go look up UCF rushing yards versus TCU. Yeah, I know. And also, their week 1 opponent, too. Granted, I think it was a cupcake, but they ran for like almost 500 yards in week 1. We know Gus Mal's on offense. If he can get that run game going, he's going to. And KJ Jefferson absolutely bulldozed Florida last year as Arkansas rolled into the swamp. So, man, that bye week's going to be important to figure out something in trying to stop a pretty well-oiled machine run game in UCF. Rod Smith says, play Greg Smith. Get 12 off the field, please. That might be something else they identify in the bye week. So who knows what this bye week holds? As I said, with what's happening with the coaching stuff, who knows what's there? But at least on the defensive side of the football, certainly you need to identify now who you're most. We have enough. I kind of like where this bye week falls. You had a Miami game, Texas A&M game, Mississippi State game so far. You know who your players are by now. You know who's more consistent. You know who can make plays or more plays. Not many people are making plays on this defense. But now you have enough to go by to say, all right, let's quit with the rotation. Let's get more plays for this group of players and roll with that. Of course, you're still going to have some type of rotation. You're still going to give some guys some breathers. But we know by now who has shown up, who can contribute at a more consistent level than some of the other guys. That's what we need to identify in the bye week. Woody says, I don't know why the DC wasn't putting 8 in the box to stop the run. It was so annoying to watch. Woody, that's been a continual thing, man, for whatever reason. There's some short yardage plays versus A&M last week where, nope, we're just going to play 4 down. Our linebackers aren't going to creep up. We're still going to put 2 safeties in the back, and we're just basically going to give you short yardage plays. I don't know why. I have no idea why. So we keep asking ourselves why so much, and it's frustrating. Rod Smith says, Dave, feed me more Mizell, please. Jeez Louise. Certainly, man. We've often wondered where he's at. Finally gets on the field, Trey Wilson out. He's catching some of those screens. But that shake and bake 65-yard run that was called back showed me a lot. It showed me that he deserves the chance to do that some more. Now, of course, I think the nice surprise, too, for Mizell was the reputation was he was going to be the guy that would take the top off the offense or the defense. And with Graham Mertz out there, we know that's kind of limited anyway. But at the same time, we saw it with DJ Lagway a couple of weeks ago and throwing that bomb to Mizell. But he showed me something today that I won't go say I didn't know was there or think was there, but at least showed me another side of maybe something he can do. Catch some screens, play tough on those screens and get some yards, but also some catch and run ability. Sounds like that Auburn Arkansas game's a little fun. I have to go turn on that game right after this here. Justin Cordero, I mentioned this morning. Nick Saban, killing our administration definitely means the coaching community looks at this program as a sinking ship. I don't know about that. I mean, certainly Nick Saban can say that. And I think there's a lot of truth to what he said about the administration and the issues Florida has there. That needs to be on the same page. And I've said that many a times when some of the past NIL issues have crept up and all that. Just a lack of tunnel vision, getting everybody on the same page. Coaches are arrogant, and many of them think They can right the ship. They can fix issues. I still think that's the allure of Florida. If you can be the guy at Florida, you're going to be looked at in a very, very positive light, a very polarizing light. If you're a successful head coach at Florida, this time you would have the badge of turning Florida around. Chris says, why not hire Nick Saban as a consultant to the football program? Give him a couple million to shake it down and provide a report. Well, I think he's having fun doing what he's doing now. I think if he wanted to be that involved, he'd probably still be coaching. But I'm not sure. That's just me guessing. I mean, certainly if he would be up for it, absolutely go for it. Just not sure he wants to be that involved with the program. I did see LJ McCray out there, Rod. I'll have to see. I don't know how many snaps he played, but did he show up on the? He had, for the stats that I get, he had 1 tackle. But I did see him out there. I don't know. I don't know how much. I don't get a snap count. Lee Fashi says about, Saban probably makes that in a commercial. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He can go work on a commercial for a day and get paid a hefty amount. All right. Good stuff, guys. Good stuff. Bye week coming up. I'll see what this week holds as far as the schedule. Will Miles and I will get back together on Monday for sure. No game to preview, of course. So, I mean, I say still an outside shot. We, some coaching happenings or whatever. We'll see. I was asked. I still leaned yes right when I was asked after the game if they were leaning towards a firing, going ahead and it happening. Like I said, I don't know where the administration leans. I know Scott Strickland would not be in favor probably of making that move right now. So we'll see. Well, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what the schedule holds. We'll have some discussions. Stingray Branding, I think Allen, says it was nice watching a win and some points. Felt like DJ was handcuffed on his drives and Mertz was getting fun pass plays called. Probably some of that deals with being on your own goal line and giving him really safe plays. What I do like is Napier not pulling him in those situations. Now, I think you could possibly say with Mertz playing so well, just go with the quote-unquote hot hand. But he did stick to his schedule. So I do like that he didn't back off on putting DJ in those situations. Those were some learning situations, some tough situations for a young quarterback. But I do think that played into the play calling. Not wanting to mess up deep in your own territory was probably the biggest reason it probably looked like it was handcuffed. Lee Fashi says, Dave, you hit Kiffin up yet? I have not, but it is funny. Back in the spring sometime, I don't remember when it was. Lane Kiffin did follow me on Twitter. Look, I'm pretty sure his Twitter is his Twitter because a lot of those tweets we know Lane is tweeting. Did follow me out of the blue on Twitter. So I don't know if it means anything or not. And one more thing that it should be pointed out, especially because it was a road game. So we know in the past under Billy Napier, this has been a big issue. But CD's 8-bit says the penalties were better. Yeah, absolutely. They were better. I'm trying to find the stat for penalties. I don't know. There it is. 6 for 54, 8 for 70 on Mississippi State. And that might have been just offense. For whatever reason, I can't. Oh, there it is. Penalties. Okay. 6 for 54 for Florida overall. 8 for 70 for Mississippi State. Yeah. Certainly, after the issues we have seen, this staff on the road with penalties, I'll take exactly what we saw today. It was much better. Now, don't get me wrong. One of them, the Montreal Johnson one, as I said, the blindside block was wrong. So Florida should have only had 5 penalties. That one did call back a touchdown, but as I said, that's not on Montreal Johnson. I don't blame Montreal Johnson at all for what he did. And then I thought the second Sharif Denson pass interference on that one drive I thought was kind of ticky-tacky as well. So I do think penalties were overall better. Liquid Flames does bring up a good point. Penalties and turnovers and stuff seem trivial with how bad the defense and other things are. Certainly, yeah, for sure. At least they're not helping the opponent too much. ID Motorset, I don't know. That's what I just talked about, man. Because someone explained the block penalty on Mizell's TD that got called back. It just shouldn't have been. It really shouldn't have been. I mean, the defender running towards Montreal Johnson, as I said, he had enough time to know, if you watch it in slow motion, he prepares for the hit. So obviously he sees Montreal Johnson there. That is not a blindside block. And especially because he's running for, it was ridiculous. Thankfully, Florida won the game. And if that had any kind of impact, I think we could spend more time on it, but it was dumb. And one more. Last thing here, because I will say it too, yes. Jason Marshall playing some good ball. That's the only good thing on defense. This has been his most consistent year by far. He is playing some good football right now, is Jason Marshall. So good point. That needs to be pointed out. Like what I've seen for him in his quote-unquote money year, of course, for Montreal Johnson. All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks hopping in here, reviewing this Florida Mississippi State game with me. Thanks for all the comments. Thanks for all the likes. Hit that like button one more time if you haven't done so yet. Subscribe right here on Gators Breakdown too. That'll do it for this episode of Gators Breakdown. I am your host, David Waters. You can find me on social media at GatorDave_SEC. Guys and girls out there, thank you for joining me on this episode of Gators Breakdown.